So what we're doing now is we're cleaning out our sugaring buckets. We got these for free a few years ago. This is our first year using them. We've been storing them ever since because we knew we were going to use them one day. We have quite a few maples on our property, and then we got some along the road. At the property that's across the road, it's owned by like a lumber company, but I don't think they're going to mind if we tap a few maples that are along the road, since it's a class 4 road and nobody comes out here ever. Basically just going through the buckets that we had stored. We had them stored with newspaper in between them, and we're looking to see if they need to be wiped out. A lot of them we're just putting hot water in them and wiping them down. There's just dirt and stuff in the cracks, so we're just giving them a good once over, and then we're gonna dry them up on the stove so they don't get moldy or anything while we stack them for the next couple of days.
Or get stuck together either.
Or get stuck together, yeah, it's no fun. So what are we doing today? So what is the process of this sweet, sweet maple sugar?
Tapping a tree.
Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind to a lot of people's heads when they think of Vermont might be maple syrup. And it's not true that residents who live in Vermont have a high percentage of maple syrup in their blood, but maybe it is true for some people. I don't know. So today we're going to be tapping maple trees. It's still probably a wee bit early for us, but we have 25 buckets or so, and we're not going to tap them all today. We're just going to tap a couple because we have some warmer temperatures forecasted next week. So hopefully we'll get a sap run. We'll talk about some of this stuff for people who are unfamiliar with the whole process of sugar making. But for now, we're going to hop right into it, and we're going to start tapping some trees. So stick around if you want to hang out with us.
First things first, you go up to your tree, you pet it, and you thank it for its gifts it's about to give to you. And then that's when you tap it. But never tap a tree before you give thanks for it. That's my opinion.
Very true. Very, very true. So you might be wondering how to identify a maple tree. Typically, you can tap any maple, really. People think it's just sugar maples, but those are just the ones that have the highest concentration of sugar in their sap. You can tap any maple. It could be a red maple, it could be a soft maple, it could be a box elder, which is actually a maple. But these are sugar maples or rock maples. And how we can tell is, first you want to look up into the crown of your suspected maple. Does it look healthy? This crown, not so much. There's some some disease and broken limbs. So we're not going to tap this tree right here. We're going to tap this one, which, look up in the crown, looks nice and healthy, full crown. And we're probably going to tap that one behind as well. So how can you tell it's a maple? Well, first you want to look at the bark. It is a pretty distinctive bark. It's got sort of irregular ridges, whereas an ash will have sort of very diamond-shaped ridges. They'll kind of be going down pretty straight and also kind of diagonally. In our area, these maples usually have this sort of lichen on it. Another way to tell is you look up to the crown once again, and I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but there's opposite leaf patterns. So what I mean by opposite is there are some little birch saplings here, and you see these buds? These are alternate, so they're not coming out. An opposite branch or an opposite leaf pattern will have two buds or branches right on either side. So those are some ways to identify a maple in the winter. In the summer, obviously, you can look at the leaves, and then you can, from there, mark them for the winter. So that's the first step. So our next step is we're going to tap the maple. Tapping means when you drill a hole about 1.5 inches into the maple, you want to get just into the heartwood, the sapwood, just past the sapwood and into the heartwood rather. And if you tapped maples last year, you want to make sure you tap it on the opposite side. And another note is you want to make sure your maple is healthy and big enough to be tapped. They should be about 10 inches in diameter, or about the size of a 5-gallon bucket around, and that's when you know they're big enough. Some people will put 2 taps per tree if it's big enough, but we don't do that. Even if it's over 18 inches, we only put 1 tap for the tree because it needs the sap. We're not taking all the sap by tapping it, but it does need enough sap because that's the nutrients. So those are the nutrients that they're bringing up to the leaves in order to photosynthesize in the summer. So you want to tap it on the opposite side of what you tapped. So this right here, if you can pick it up, this is a tap scar. This is from when somebody else, probably our neighbor, maybe 15 years ago, tapped some maple trees here. So we're not going to tap right here. We're going to tap somewhere over here. This is fully healed, and this is an okay spot to tap. This is an okay side to tap now. So we're going to tap that. What we use is a hand drill. We have a 1/2 inch bit on here, auger bit, and this helps bring the shavings out. You could use a cordless drill, screwdriver, screw gun, whatever you want, but we're off grid, so keeping it charged is sometimes an issue.
Also, it's nice to be able to just hear the birds and stuff. And why do you have that marked?
So this is about how deep the tap goes in. Like I said, 1.5 inches. So we've got these old school galvanized metal taps. So that's when I know to stop tapping, stop drilling. This little handy dandy bump here. So we'll describe what that is later, but that's about as deep as it goes in. So we're going to do the tapping process, and when you're tapping, you want to when you're drilling, you don't want to do this a bunch. You want the hole to be nice and tight, and you want to go not straight in, but slightly at an angle. So sort of a downward angle. With these hand drills, it takes a little while to get it started. Hope I went the right way. So now I'm going slightly at an angle. Takes a little while with the hand drill, but a little bit of effort on my part is
worth it.
Well worth the calories and the carbohydrates the sugar is going to give me.
Also, it's a way to earn it. You got to work for something that gives gifts too.
So this is called a spile, S-P-I-E-L, and these are just old galvanized tin ones. You can actually make these out of elderberry after the bark and the wood is dried because the wood is poisonous, or sumac. I've seen people make them out of too. So we're just using these because we have them. Here's that little bump I was talking about earlier. So that slips right over the little bump, and it's got a little spout. That's where the sap drips from. And what we're gonna do to put it in the hole is it's gonna go. We're gonna push it as far as we can push it with our hands. pretty snug there. And then I've got this handy dandy block of wood that I'm going to use just so I don't damage the spile. And send it home. There you go. It's not going to come out until I want it to. Now, and Chikoi is going to grab this old tin bucket we've got. These are sap buckets. These go right on that little hook. And she's also going to grab a cover. And these are just same galvanized tin covers. You got little ridges right here. Slide right on your bucket. And there you go, so nothing gets in the bucket. Another thing is these taps will stay in for 6 to 8 weeks. You don't want to leave them in any more than 8 weeks because then the wound will start to heal over the tap and it makes it really hard to get out. And also, we're a little early. This is not early, but you know, there's different parts of the season. And the sap that runs at different parts of the season is what makes the different grades. So there's light syrup, there's robust syrup, and there's stuff in between. The sap will run basically when a night gets around 20 degrees, and then during the day, the following day, gets above 32 degrees, and the sap will really start to run once it gets above 35 degrees, about anywhere to 40 degrees. So that's when the sap is running from the roots up the tree into the buds to swell the buds and get those to open up in the spring. We're getting some temperatures, daytime temperatures in the mid to high 30s next week. So hopefully we'll get some sap runs next week. And then we'll show you the boiling process about a month from now when we have enough sap to boil. Because it doesn't come out looking like maple syrup. It comes out clear and it's sort of sweet. It's mostly water. It's about 2% sugar, 4% sugar, something like that. And it's a little sweet, and you have to boil the water out of it to get the sugar to stay. So that's a whole different process than tapping. Right now we're just going to cover these basic taps, the basic tapping process. We have a couple more to tap, and then we'll be done for the day, and we're going to save the rest of our taps and buckets for maybe 2 weeks from now, towards the end of February, to start tapping. Okay.